today we got to play Deadwood. So this is a Western-themed shootout game, sort of.
City building,
It's something.
worker placement.
It's published by Silverline Games. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because you like board games. This is the last of our Westerns, right?
Nope.
No.
We
got one more.
We have one more we're going to do for now. We've got a couple other ones, but we're going to just kind of mix them in because we really want to move on to getting into the next series, which is going to be the bookshelf series. So the next one is actually a transition to that.
So for clarification, Randy's ready to move on.
Well, we played a lot of Westerns, to be fair, and we still got a few.
We have. Well, and we hit all the big hitters, I think.
Well, the challenge is that there's certain ones that require certain numbers of players, and we have to have, so the right mix of player count to play them.
Yeah, so
and it's been harder to get people.
So it's kind of sad. We have one more Western Wednesday before.
For now, I'll be smattering a few in from time to time, but
no, it's sad. We'll play some other ones. But
then we'll have a wrap up.
Yeah, then we'll have a wrap up to kind of see what our top 5 favorite Western themed game was. We've played quite a few of them. So coming back to Deadwood here, Randy, tell us more about this particular game.
So this was a 2011 release. It is currently rated 6.4 on Board Game Geek. Has a rank of 2,740. It's 2 to 5 players. And it's 30 to 60 minutes in length, which is about right. Age, it says 13 up. I don't really think it requires 13. I would think probably 10 and up is about what I would rate it.
This is pretty attacky.
Yeah, but I mean, as long as they know how to play, a child could play it at 10. I don't think it's... I mean, children are probably better about attacky games than some adults.
Yeah, I mean...
It was published by Fantasy Flight Games, but under their Silverline series. And it was actually also a Dust game, which there was a game called Dust, and then there was a whole bunch of spin-offs from that. And the main thing that was connected was the actual art, which I like the character art, which we'll get to that when we talk about theme, but it was all part of the Dust series. There was a whole bunch of games that fell into that. The design is by Loic Lemmy. Art is Miguel Coimbra. I think we've got a few games that
name Coimbra sounds very, very familiar.
Nicholas Fructus, Edouard Guiton, and Gulvin Quintel. It's out of print, so you aren't going to find it, but you can find it on Amazon right now for $71.59, which is high. On eBay, there's a listing for $14.99. I didn't check it out to see if it's a complete copy. But on Board Game Geek, there's several people selling as low as $8. So, and their list is very good.
So there's options out there for
so
you guys.
Lots of options
if you think
desire
that this is more your thing. So let's talk about quality of pieces. There is a lot of cardboard to this game. You do have wooden dice that you end up rolling, which actually for a Western makes a lot of sense.
But the cardboard is actually really good cardboard. It's got linen finish on both sides, and it's thick. All of the cardboard, I like the cardboard.
Even the cardboard money,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's good. It's fine.
The only problem with the money is that the dollar bills and the 1, 2s, and 5s, they all are fairly similar in color. They're slightly tinted. But they do have a 1, 2, and a 5 on it, but it's all kind of small.
You could get very confused if you're not looking carefully at your money.
Yeah,
so
you could actually mix up the money.
Yes, I would double check your money.
The board actually has a linen finish on it too, which is really nice. So yeah, I mean, as far as being mostly all cardboard goes, it's actually really good quality.
So what would you give it a score though?
Given the fact that this is mostly old cardboard and the dice I really like the style of those because it looks Western-y. I'm probably going to give this, I'd say a 7.5 is where I'm thinking.
I'm going to give this a 7 just because there's not a lot there. I mean, yeah, you got money, you got tiles. There's not enough there for me to go any higher than 7, but I think what they do have is pretty good. So let's talk about theme. So theme is obviously a Western city building shootout kind of game. You're definitely, you place your workers, but, if somebody wants your spot, they can go there and, you know, attack you essentially. Now there is some city building in the fact that, you know, you're placing this train and adding some tiles. So theme wise, the what stands out the most for me is for theme is the artwork.
Yeah.
You know, the artwork is really interesting.
I think it's pretty. The characters.
Well, I wouldn't call it pretty. It's interesting.
Well, I mean, the board is, I think, very pretty. The characters are kind of a realistic / cartoonish. I like that. It's actually the
it's
tiles,
almost like a caricature.
Yeah, they almost remind me of Terry Gilliam's art from Monty Python, which I really like. The fact that it looks similar to that. You know, the buildings, they look pretty realistic. They're, you know, you're building a city and it looks like that. I mean, the railroads that are really nice, the way they look on there.
Yeah, they did a really good job with the art. The artwork is where the theme shines on this. I mean, and as far as Western goes, there are shootouts, right?
Yeah.
You know, and you go to different buildings to get horses to be able to run away, and I mean,
and bullets. I think the theme's pretty well entrenched in this. I mean, you're doing the city building. You got the city building. You've got the train. You've got bank robberies. You've got duels. I mean, you got
have
the
actual
sheriff.
death. Your people do actually die in this,
and they go to Boot Hill.
Yeah. So, what's the score for it then?
Given the fact, especially since this is a 2011 game, and you know the fact that this is as thematic as it is, I'm probably gonna give it an 8. I think is where I'm at on it.
Okay, all right. You know, for me, the artwork justifies the 8 in and of itself. I really do like the artwork because it holds something. You know, I don't think you typically see this kind of style very often, and it's done very, very well. And I do think there's a lot of stuff entrenched in it. So I can agree to an 8 for theme. So let's then talk about rules. You read them.
Yeah. So
I didn't even pay attention when you were explaining
I played
them.
this way back in the day. It's been a long time since we played it. So I
back
got
in
the
the
rule book out and reread it.
Way back in the day.
Well, sometime after 2011, I can tell you that. So I think this was a Gen Con pickup whenever it came out, if I remember right. So I probably
You've
got
been
it.
going to Gen Con for that long?
I have. 2010 was my first Gen Con.
Wow, guys.
So the rule book is 10 pages plus cover and back, which I like the fact that the cover's on there and it looks like the box art. It's very well laid out. I mean, it's a nicely designed rule book. It's got the sections are clear. There's flavor text all throughout it. It looks like a style of print that you would see in the Old West. It's got all the different buildings explained clearly in the book.
I bet you liked that.
I did. There's no cheat sheet. That's the only complaint. It would be nice to have that information on a card that you could have in front of you, at least quick reference. But apart from that,
I mean, there's iconography on the tiles, and once
Yeah.
you understand it, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just literally placing a worker, so it's not that.
Right.
I will say a cheat sheet for the combat system would have been nice.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of weirdness with that.
Yeah, there's an order to it that you have to follow, and I think it would have been nice to have that. I agree. Given the fact of the quality of the rule book, and you know, I like the way it's structured. I like the look of the book, and you know, it is got everything clearly defined where you want it, and I like the font in it as far as the Western look to it. I'm probably gonna give it an 8.5.
Okay, cool. 8.5. All right. Now let's talk about actual gameplay. So it's pretty straightforward. You have a couple of buildings to start out with, and then you also have the sheriff placed in between 3 tiles at a center point. Okay.
Well, specifically, you have 4 buildings that are always in play: the town hall, the church, the sheriff's office, and the one of the saloons. So those 4 are always in play, and those are key because you have to have a saloon in order to get more people. You have to have the sheriff's office so the sheriff will have a place to be switched from and occupy, and you need the town hall to build the city. The church is kind of just a
So the sheriff. Well, so basically, you have at the beginning you have 3 workers at level 1, level 2, level 3, and then you place those workers one you place one, the next person goes, whatever. And then at some point you can recall them, or you can send one worker to a place that has you automatically recall a certain number of them. So basically you're trying to, in the end, gather the most money. But there's some little caveats to it as you place your workers. So whatever player is at the sheriff's office owns the sheriff. And so if you decide to place a worker on something that you're on a location that the sheriff is protecting, you have to pay the person who has the sheriff's office $1. So that's essentially giving them a victory point. The caveat that with though is the sheriff protects those spots. You go there and no one's going to be able to kick you off because he doesn't allow any dueling in his area. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as the rest of the tiles go, if you place there, someone can or you can decide to place where someone else is, and you can go against and have a duel.
Except for the church,
which could end up leading to death. And so it's pretty straightforward. So, like for an example, I have a level 2 person. Randy will have a level 1. All right.
Of course, I'm going to be the weaker one.
Of course. So he could decide that he's going to play a bullet to match my 2.
Well, put yourself on the board somewhere, and I'll go there.
Well, we're just talking about it. Fine. Here's a 2. There.
All right.
Fortune
So
teller.
I'm assigning my person here, so I'm a 1. She's a 2.
Well, no. So I'm going to be the attacker. So.
Oh, you're attacking. Okay,
yeah. Okay.
Fine.
All right. So I'm going to be coming attacking. He decides that he's going to play. Do you want to run?
Yeah, so if you have a pony, you can pay this to flee the fight, and you'll go over here to the abandoned mine. It's basically just a holding area for people. They're still alive. You can recall them from there, but they don't do anything.
Yeah, but you think you got this because you have a bullet.
Because I am gutsy.
Yeah, and you have a bullet.
So I'm going to say I'm not going to play my pony. So we're going to stay in the fight. So you would first decide if you want to assign a bullet.
I am, because I really want you dead.
That's not nice. Then I'm going to assign a bullet.
After what you did to me this game, yeah. I figure I'm
going to assign a bullet too, because I want to counter.
So
she gets
3. I get 3 dice, 2 dice.
But she gets to throw, since there's a difference between the 2, she rolls the difference ahead of me.
Yeah, and lo and behold, it's a 2, which means it misses. Now, if you get a 4 or a 5, it wounds the opposing party, and if you get a 6, it's an automatic shot to the death. That character dies. So then we roll.
Now we roll the matched numbers.
Yep.
So we can I got a 6 and a 5.
And I got a 5, so that means I am dead.
And I'm wounded, but
if I had rolled another 4 or 5 or 6, he would also be dead. So you can end up both dying.
So my 5 goes on my character until the end of the battle, but I instantly heal at the end of the battle, so I actually retained my space.
Yeah.
Ha! In your face.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because I rolled crappy. But it's okay. So that is essentially how you play. Again, you go to different locations, and each location is a little bit different. You can rob a bank. You can gain another worker and things like that. So there's a couple of end-of-game mechanics. Either one person has lost all their people, they have died, and they can't get anywhere else. Or if all the wanted posters have been depleted, and there's certain amounts for certain...
We left that out. If you attack someone, you get a wanted poster. So
I do already have one right here.
Yeah, so she would gain the wanted poster. Even though she died, she attacked me, so therefore she got a wanted poster.
You also get a wanted poster for, like, robbing the bank, and there's a couple other things that will get you wanted posters. So just being aware of that. There are some negative penalties that possibly can occur if you have wanted posters.
At the end of the game, you have to subtract victory points or money based upon how many of those you have, and it can get up really high.
Oh, well,
It can get up to, I believe it's like $55.
Well, I didn't have any. I didn't attack anybody.
Yeah, 50. If you have 10 or more, it's $55 you have to pay.
But there is ways to get rid of them, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
That's what the church is for.
Church or
if you
the
go to the town hall. And there's actually a space, if somebody is going and being really attacky, and they get a bunch of those, you can go and penalize. You can go to the courthouse, and everybody has to pay $1 for every wanted poster they have.
Yeah, so I think it can get pretty nasty. So there's a bunch of different things you can do. So let's talk about what you liked about the game.
I like the fact that you're building the city out, and you don't know exactly what order the tiles are going to come out. I like the fact that there's the way the tiles work mechanically is really cool. I mean, this is like in 2011, there weren't a lot of these worker placement type games, and the fact that they turned it into a dueling worker placement game, you don't see that very often. If you see a worker placement game back in the 2011 period, it was mostly occupying a space and you couldn't use that space. Here you could actually challenge for the space, and it fit the Western theme very well. And I think all the actions make sense for the different locations pretty much. There's a few that, like, I'm not really sure the value of the fortune teller and a few of the others, but all in all, I like the way this game works. I like the fact that you're building the railroad, which you didn't mention all the ways this game can end, can you? Because the railroad is the main one. So you build a train.
You interrupted me before we went
so
to that one.
The ways the game can end is somebody loses all their players that are active. It does not all their players, because you start with 9 total in your pool.
And then I mentioned the wanted posters, we didn't get to most of the time this is how the game ends, which is actually you complete the railroad buildings, and at the end of the railroad you build the train station.
Yeah, and if there's a building in your way, you plow right through it.
Yep.
So
and you destroy it, and the person who was there gets sent to this no man's land over here.
Yep.
Not dead though.
Yep. So yeah, and it also will trigger all of the buildings that are surrounding the tile whenever it plows through. So that's pretty cool if you have a guy that's on those locations. I like the mechanics of this game a lot. I don't think it's a game that we're going to play a lot because of the tacky nature of it, but that's because of our personal play style. But I don't mind it at all. I mean, in this game, the tacking is not really, I don't think it's severe, because you're basically
I think it can be.
Well, you're basically, we played a very gentle game. But the fact is you can get more people out of your pool. So basically, it's more of a way of just getting workers out of your way than it is that you're really trying to kill the other players.
Oh, I beg to differ.
Well, it depends on your motivation, I guess. But for me, it was just somebody's in my way. I want them out of my way.
And how many times have you killed me for that?
I think I only killed you one time.
Yeah, I know, it was very annoying.
But yeah, I like the feel of this game, and I love the fact that they tied this into this dust world. I think that's cool. This is one of the first worlds that I ever saw in a series of games.
Okay.
Because I mean, we've got the Above and Below and all of that series that's all set in the same world. The Dust series predates that, and I really like that they created this world with that same art style. For the different characters. The Adventurers series is part of this art style. Obviously, Dust. There's a whole bunch of games that fell into that with this same character style. I'm probably going to give this one a 7 as far as the gameplay. I mean, it's a very light game. It's not something that's heavy, but it is worker placement. The only challenge I have is there's not a lot of ways to get money beyond like $1. I mean, it's every action
there's a couple of $2.
There's a couple of $2, and the bank didn't come out until the very end of the game, and that's a $5 one. So you're really competing a lot for for $1 in many of these cases.
Well, and the gold mine didn't come out to the very end too, so that made it a little more difficult. So I mean, I think like our tile placement wasn't.
And the fortune teller, which is the only value of it, is to shift the tiles into order. So that would be one way of getting the bank to the higher level if you went there. But it came out whenever we already pretty much depleted all the tiles at that point. So it wasn't very useful. So I think there's some execution where it could have been like you could have had tiers of tiles where maybe it would have been a little better, where you wouldn't have like just randomness causing things like that to happen.
Yeah. So any other, what are your, I mean.
Well, I gave it a 7, so.
So, I maybe wasn't in the mood for this game because it felt very attacky, to me. And even though we didn't play it that way, and part of me was like, this game is losing a lot because we weren't playing the way it was meant to be played. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I wasn't going to force myself to play in a way I don't typically play either. So it was kind of a catch-22. This game is definitely not on my list to play again. But if you like attacky games, I think this is actually an okay game.
Mm-hmm.
Just not for me. So I mean, I'm okay. I'm okay with your 7 on the caveat with a little star next to it. Miranda ain't playing again. Like, like I don't know. It just wasn't my. It just wasn't my cup of tea. And that's okay. Specifically, it was really just the attacky nature. I also don't like the randomness of the tile placement. There is no point in location of placing the tiles. That bugged me. I really wish there was more.
Like you could move, but only to an adjacent tile or something like that.
Right. I wish there was more strategic. I wish there was more strategic with the tile placement, because really the tile plate, it didn't really matter where you play. You can go anywhere, do anything. So in that aspect, like, because I could probably have handled the attacking nature if there was more strategy, but because where it just seemed like you go to a location, you get $1, and you do whatever action.
Yeah,
that's really
and
what
then
you
you
did.
recall your workers because you eventually you're going to run out.
Right. So for me, it just felt kind of. So all I was doing was attacking. So if they added some more strategy, or if they added a little more that could, manage some of that attacking nature, I would probably want to play it again. But that's not the case here.
Mm-hmm.
So. I mean, I think they did a really great job. I don't know what games were like in 2011. I didn't get into the hobby until, I thought I knew what board games were until I met you. Obviously, I was mistaken.
I would say that, though, in its defense, Western theme, you've got to expect there's going to be some attacking. That's the whole point of a Western.
Right. I'm fine with it. I just want a little bit more with my attacking.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, I mean, 7's fine. I'm fine with the 7 because there are, looking at it critically, it's an okay attacky game. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We had a good time hanging out with you guys. Hopefully we'll catch you guys again. Bye.